I think I would now like to throw the floor open and would like to invite questions, including the questions that may not have been answered, or were they? Sure, go ahead.
To some, my question might sound funny, to some spiritual, but when we talk of social responsibility, we definitely talk of work towards humanity. The biggest challenge as a NGO that I face, and when I'm doing a social activity and I go and request for CSR, and I of course will agree with the fact which was said that it's on a refund basis. First you have to submit your project, and the first question the corporates ask, when CSR does not come under advertising, I think it is becoming more and more surrogate advertising. Because first thing we are asked when we put up a project or we say that this is what we need to do is which Bollywood actor or cricketer is going to launch it? Where are you going to, how will the backdrop be designed? How much of a logo will be visible? So if I have to donate 10 wheelchairs, at the end I can only give 5 because 50% of that goes into branding. Can we, under the law, ma'am, or by virtue of policy, erase the branding from CSR? That will take away a lot of, it will make us save a lot of money to do the good work actually on ground. Because getting a Bollywood actor or a senior politician and then creating a stage, it takes away a lot of money from the actual work.
Who would like to answer?
Can there be some kind of a control on that?
I try to understand that we are now trying to get away from a morass of rules, regulations. We've had enough. And I think the law as it stands today has enough legislation and enough rules. I want to leave the boards of companies and NGOs where they are now. Let's roll this out for 3 or 4 years before we think of any changes. If we take away brand value from CSR, we're depriving companies from a major portion of why they're doing CSR. Surely that's their credit. Now, if they want to do only brand building and nothing else, well, they will sort it out because, as I said, people will really be the judge of what's coming out. So I don't want, I think, and I hope I'm also articulating the ministry's point of view to some extent, that I think at this point of time, there is enough regulation, enough rules out there. And perhaps we should rest that for a while till we get more practices.
Thank you. 100% branding bad, 0% branding bad. So time will decide in an ethical, responsible way. The boards who have been empowered will decide what is good and what is bad. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Rashmi Singh, and sorry, I had to leave for a bite outside. So not the eating bite, but a video bite. And so my question here was, hello, yeah. So my question was that, we've seen the fate of many of the other provisions like environmental laws being subverted, be it mining industry or cement factory. And, I had a group of villagers in my recent tour to Bihar telling me, how much damage has been done. Now the question is that we do, appreciate the fact that we are talking about just creating enabling conditions, enabling environment. But do you personally feel that, that will, probably be effective in terms of letter and spirit, for ensuring the compliances?
Why not?
Why not, yeah.
Let's be an optimist for a change. There will always be defaulters, there will always be lawbreakers, there will always be people who take shortcuts, but they are not the majority of this nation.
Yeah.
I can tell you that there are very good corporates, there are excellent NGOs. Let's think of the good things and the changes we can bring about. If there are people who want to circumvent the law, the public will be the judge. But at least for now, let's trust. Let's get off to a good start. Let's do something and show the world. Let's stay with that spirit.
Pancho ungli barabar nahi, what they say. There will be all kinds, but I think certainly from our experience we can say that those companies who were doing, thanks to this law, they are now doing more ethical and responsible stuff, and there were companies who were not doing and who are now being forced to think, are doing ethical, responsible stuff rather than trying to fake it out. but some will always be there, as he said.
Is there any yardstick which can measure the impact of the CSR activities? This is just to basically set the examples, set the benchmarks.
There is no yardstick prescribed by the government. Let's make that very clear. It is for the company to determine its own yardstick. If it wants to get an evaluation done by a third party or a professional agency, or it sets its own yardsticks of measurement, this lies within the purview of the company and its board. Government has laid down no parameters or no yardsticks. It's for you to take a call.
See, many companies set up independent agencies to evaluate the of the functioning. Like I know Tata Institute of Social Sciences has been asked to evaluate all the CSR activities done by, say, of a particular company. And then they give a report which then goes before the CSR subcommittee and then to the board. So we try as much as possible now, before we start a new project in a particular area, we ask first benchmark. Because unless you have benchmarked what is the current situation, then I set up a school or I set up a health facility, and then I look and see how 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, has there been an impact of my health facility set up there. So that is being done not by all companies, but quite a large number of companies want to know how that money has been spent. And that is something which we are doing.
I think if you see the spirit of what the government wants is that they are empowering the board, the company, and since it was not mentioned, I can mention here, there's also a CSR committee where the managing director, the company secretary, and an independent director will be members of that. All these are all company processes that are being empowered to decide, is it public at large, is it good, is it bad, what is the ratio, what have you. So I think that is a good spirit of the government, both are nodding there, and it's up to us to not try to hoodwink or look at loopholes, but just take the spirit and believe everyone, what people are saying, that's the right thing to do, and then hopefully things will happen. There are two questions that now stop you from dinner. So we give the lady here and the gentleman after that, and then we'll end the session.
Okay, good evening, this is Shruti. My question or comment, I have observed that a lot of companies are working on similar causes. So there could be an Adani Foundation or an Ambuja Cement Foundation, and they're doing things like education, adopting villages, health and sanitation. But they're all working independently and individually. So is there or can there be a means of aligning their interests or aligning the areas in which they work, so we are able to cover various regions and there is lesser duplication possibly? At least we'll have a corpus in ways of using those, right?
You have a follow-up question, the lady on your left?
Yes, I would, hi, this is Nirja. I would just like to add one thing here. I mean, while I take it off from Mr. Pillai's statement that 20,000 crore is a minuscule amount as compared to government's development fund. Agreed. Now, what can industry do? What does industry bring to the table? We bring efficiencies, we bring project management skills, we bring big bang for money. How to get that? Industry knows that best, right? So what can we do on CSR front? Industry can create many innovative products, which is pilots. And government can keep a look at that and scale them up because their funds are much larger as compared to industry. So successful pilots can be scaled up by the government. So we can create many pilots from the industry which would be basically in different areas, and the better ones can always be scaled up by the government.
Thank you. I think it's a good suggestion. And the first one, can there be a national coordinating authority? The answer is a no. The gentleman at the back, and then we call it a day.